the new acting commissioner, praising Ulla Christopher. The only thing that he didn't say is that she was a relative of Mother Mary. Apparently, the DPP has found no compelling evidence to charge her. And I have said before, and I'm going to say it frankly again, that in terms of murders, you have to evaluate murders multiplied by 2 when you have a state of emergency. History reveals that today's villain becomes tomorrow's hero. And that may very well be the case in this situation. And the extortion racket is moving with speed in this country. And a lot of young people have been recruited. Well, the message we are sending to the gang leaders are, you are winning the battle. All right, and we are losing the battle. That's the closeness of the criminal element to some of our protective services. So I was literally punished when I tried to rescue that girl, and I rescued her successfully to really adopt young people, to launch a national adoption program where it doesn't matter if you disagree with me theologically, but we all agree that we have to save the community.
Welcome back to ALTOS. Well, our guest this evening is Pastor Clive Dottin, Seventh-day Adventist pastor, former independent senator, and a former member of the Police Service Commission, and someone who over the years has been very outspoken about getting things right in this country. Pastor Dottin, welcome to ALTOS. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We have seen a lot happening in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in 2025 with mid-February, and we've had a sitting police commissioner detained, released, not charged, a new commissioner appointed, and the Police Service Commission in the middle of all of this, and a lot of the senior officers also in the middle of what has happened in this year. What are your initial thoughts on these developments?
Well, I want to piggyback on what you just said, because, Roger, what is taking place is that I now see the new acting commissioner praising Ulla Christopher and promising to build a foundation. The only thing that he didn't say is that she was a relative of Mother Mary, because he praised her to the highest. And that tells me there may be a rethink in terms of the speed at which you allowed a junior officer to arrest a senior officer. Personally, I feel the Police Service Commission jumped the gun, because apparently the DPP has found no compelling evidence to charge her. And I observe a commentator on the Express stating that to have, police officials going back to the DPP 4 times within a specified limited period of time tells something. And all of this is not building confidence in this service at a time when, in spite of the fact that we have a state of emergency, we have 3 people killed yesterday. And I have said before, and I'm going to say it frankly again, that in terms of murders, you have to evaluate murders multiplied by 2 when you have a state of emergency, because it means the criminal element has no respect for your state of emergency.
Looking at what had happened in the service, do you think, people are saying there might have been some kind of uprising or coup within the police service itself for something like this to have happened? And as you said, they've gone to the DPP 4 times, still no charges laid.
Premature. That was a palace coup. I am certain of that. And then not only has the PSC moved with alacrity, but the PCA in the charging of a top-ranking officer, all right, the allegations made by a junior officer, a sergeant, by the way, very quickly she has been absolved.
Right.
And this same officer was involved in the Brent Thomas Barbados affair, all right, another premature action again. So I am saying that we're in a crisis. I have made a statement, and that statement is that Trinidad and Tobago is moving swiftly on the road to Haiti. When I look at what I know about the extortion racket, I have adopted a child, and that child comes from gangland territory, just about 1 year old. And what I see is that a relative is involved in the extortion racket, not yet 20 years old, getting tens of thousands of dollars. And the extortion racket is moving with speed in this country. And a lot of young people have been recruited. Permit me to say that part of our problem is that we have allowed the gang leaders to show us what to do in terms of recruiting young people in criminal activity, in gangs, in drug dealing. We have allowed that to happen, and we have shown a very snail's pace when it comes to the issue of recruiting young people for positive, proactive activity.
Getting back to the commissioner of police, is it a case where we have two commissioners of police now, the incumbent being Erla Christopher and now the acting commissioner of police, because she hasn't been charged?
No, we have two commissioners. You are quite right. She has not been fired from the office. I think there's a lot of shame in terms of what has taken place now. And Mr. Benjamin has decided, well, he will go ahead and praise her because history reveals that today's villain becomes tomorrow's hero. And that may very well be the case in this situation.
And what message do you think this sends to the rest of the region and maybe the world, and even within, in terms of the protective services of Trinidad? Because the police is just one, but we have Defense Force, Coast Guard, etc. What message is this sending? Because it's basically those units, those services, they're close-knit and they're closed to the general public.
Well, the message we are sending to the gang leaders are, you are winning the battle. All right, and we are losing the battle. That is the message. I went to a police station to rescue a girl from a drug lord, and one young police officer lectured me on the bankruptcy of pastors when it comes to mediation skills. So I was supposed to tell her to stay with a drug lord who was guarded by a police and a soldier, and who were in the police station too. That's the closeness of the criminal element to some of our protective services. And I am saying a very serious thing. Nobody told me this. I went to rescue the girl. And then there was a roadblock when I was passing back in front of the station, and they profiled my driver and told us go in the station. So I was literally punished when I tried to rescue that girl, and I rescued her successfully from a drug lord who beat her with a cutlass while she was pregnant.
So a very interesting experience there, Pastor Dottin. You talked about us necessarily possibly losing the battle, at least that's the criminal element may think that.
Yes.
Are we losing the battle as a country? A lot of churches, NGOs, schools, etc. have been doing great work over the years to try and arrest this crime situation, but it seems that we're not making the kind of progress and headway based on the efforts.
Yes, my church, Serval, Living Waters, all these are amazing groups. But the truth be told, when it comes to the issue of gangs and criminality, we are actually losing the battle. And we think now that we will continue to lose the battle. I talked to several citizens on the street who are not just Seventh-day Adventists, but belong to all fraternities, all religious communities. And they think that some even said it's time for America to take over the country. That is where people's mind, to prevent us from becoming like Haiti. And we need to have the courage. You know, the Emmanuel community had two major projects that I was involved in that was of an interfaith nature. And I think the time has come for us. I want to suggest proactively that we could come together, that is all the churches, along with the groups like Living Waters and Emmanuel Community, to really adopt young people, to launch a national adoption program where it doesn't matter if you disagree with me theologically, but we all agree that we have to save the community and do better at adopting youth and putting them in positive programs.
Very interesting suggestion, and I'm sure there might be a lot of traction for that to happen.
Well, I hope so.
Yes, and hopefully some of that can happen. There was a very unsettling situation. All murder is terrible and unsettling, but I know it would have hit home for your particular church when the prosecutor, Randall Hector, was murdered, I think, early as night in
outside Stanmore Avenue,
yes,
my church.
Exactly. Right
out there. And he was the one who conducted the last part, because he was a lay leader, what we call in the Adventist community, an elder.
Right.
And he had just spoken about protection, if you please. He was hugging his son. And the doctors, and he was shot while he was hugging his son. And up to now, not one government or cabinet minister has made any comment on that killing. A special prosecutor. 3 judges told a friend of mine that guy was decent and honest. He was prepared to die. You know, the Lutheran pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer stated, when God calls you, he bids you come and die. That guy was a sacrifice, and it must not be in vain. And he knew that he was facing a life, he was engaged in a life-threatening process by pursuing the gang leaders. And he offered willingly, He saw that as his role, as his divinely appointed role, even before he was born. That is how Randall Hector thought.
Well, Pastor Dottin, a lot to talk about. We've run out of time. Thank you very much for your opinions and your forthrightness, and we will certainly look forward to having you again on the show to discuss some more about this
May God bless you.
ongoing situation of crime and criminality in Trinidad and Tobago.